I don't know if anyone's told you, but 2018 is actually just around the corner from when I'm filming this video. Probably no one has told you that because it would be a really fucking weird sentence for someone to just come up to you randomly in the street and go, "Did you know at the moment James from Plots and Points is filming a video?" And at the time he's filming it, 2018 is just around the corner. That was a shit joke. Ignore me. So, 2018 is going to be a big year for rereading. That's right, rereading, as in not reading new books. Fucking just say fuck off to broadening your horizons. We're going to read a load of stuff that we've already read. We're going to reaffirm our beliefs this year. We're going to have new faith in ourselves and our favourite things. We're going to enjoy easy rereading, and that's it. And to help us with this, the ever sexy Michael SD, formerly known as Michael SD, now known as Catalyst Reads, has created a great framework for us to reread our stuff. He's come up with this whole rereading booktubeathon. I guess booktubeathon branding has already been taken, but it's the 2018 re-readathon. It's going from January to December. You don't have to only reread books all year, that's not the point, but he's created some challenges. So each month you're going to reread something. I have opted for only picking one challenge from each month, with the exception of January, because it ties in to something else I'm going to be doing, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So if you go to his channel, have a look at his video, because it's got the whole list there of all the different challenges. I think it works out to about 25 or 26 challenges, something like that. I didn't actually count them, so if that's wrong, I'm sorry. But basically we're going to reread stuff. I've picked one challenge for each month, so ultimately I'll be rereading 12 books as part of this. I am going to be doing 13 books here on this video because, as I say, I'm doing another thing that involves rereading something I've already read just by accident. So let's just jump right into it, shall we? So for January, month one, the challenges are to reread your favourite standalone book and to reread something from your favourite series. This is the only challenge where I'm going to be doing two things. The first one, your favourite standalone, I've picked Last Night in Montreal by Emily St. John Mandel. Emily St. John Mandel, as some of you may be aware, is the author of Station 11, which is a book that for some reason people on BookTube picked up and then neglected to read any of her other works. This is probably my favourite book of hers, and it happens to be her debut novel. Gonna give it a reread and see how it holds up. Probably quite well, because I only read it like last year, so I can't imagine me going sour on it straight away. But yeah, I'll be doing full reviews of all these books, I think. If not, there's some that I've already done reviews of, but maybe they'll be more spoilery. Maybe I can do like a proper discussion, like a normal booktuber. Anyway, so this is Last Night in Montreal. It's about a guy, I think, what's his name? Can't remember his name. Eli. So about this guy called Eli who falls in love with this girl, and then she disappears one day, and he tracks her down to Montreal, and it's about him trying to find her. And there's all sorts of other intrigue going on. It's really good, and we'll do full review of that when it comes to it in January. The second book that I'm going to be reading in January is The Last Wish by, don't make me say it, this is going to be another year where I have to try and learn how this is pronounced. If I have anyone visiting this channel from Poland, please tell me how to pronounce this name so I don't continuously butcher it. I'm going to guess Andrzej Sapkowski, something like that. Yeah. So this is the first book in the Witcher saga. It's the collection of short stories which debuts the character of Geralt of Rivia, who is a professional monster hunter. This is a collection of short stories about some of his adventures before the main saga begins, which happens in The Blood of Elves. This is going to be part of, obviously, from my favourite series. The Witcher series is probably my favourite series of books ever. It is my Game of Thrones, which is appropriate, I suppose, because a TV series is in the works now. and I'm probably not going to like it. It depends if it's any good. Fingers crossed. But anyway, I'm rereading this as part of the Re-readathon, but also a lady called Elliot Brooke, I'll link her channel below, is doing a Witcher Saga read-along throughout 2018 as well. I've already read all of them, apart from the one that's not out in English yet, which is Season of Storms. I think it's coming out in April. Or yeah, I think April. But I'll be rereading the whole series throughout the year, so that counts as part of this. So I'm going to do that. Last Wish by A. Sapkowski. Next on the list is your favourite book from school, or middle school, or high school, or university. This was a tough one. I didn't have a lot of required reading as part of my schooling. There was a few, but I didn't really like any of them. So I'd say my favourite is one that I opted to read as part of my dissertation for university, which is called Half Real, by a chap called Jesper Juhl. It's about video games and how video games exist in a realm of fictional worlds that are influenced by real rules. It's a confusing topic. It's been about a decade since I've read this, so I'm not 100% clear on what it's all about, but I will review it and recap it when I read it in February. So that's Half Real, video games between real rules and fictional worlds. Won't that be fucking thrilling? Right, number 3. This is March Reads, a memoir / autobiography. I've decided to go and fucking torture myself with this one because I am going to be rereading Beyond Belief by Jenna Miscavige Hill. Jenna Miscavige Hill is the niece of David Miscavige, who is the current mentalist leader of the Church of Scientology, and this is about her secret life inside Scientology and her harrowing escape. I can attest, it is fucking harrowing the whole way through. It is a very candid and grim telling of her life inside probably one of the only forces for true evil left in the world, and that is the Church of Scientology. If you're a Scientologist and you're offended by that, first of all, according to this, you probably won't be watching this because it's on the internet, and that's evil, according to master science fiction author and noted boat enthusiast L. Ron Hubbard. And 2, you're a Scientologist, so I couldn't give a fuck about your opinion. So let's move swiftly on to number 4. This is April, a book that confused you. If anyone wants to join me in trying to read this book, potentially for the first time or as a reread, I would encourage you to do so and join me in a read-along, because holy fuck could I use the support. And that is going to be House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. Look at the size of the motherfucker. I think it's a roughly, 700 and something pages long, this book. Yeah, something like that. So this is probably one of the most mind-altering, anxiety-inducing books I've ever read. I fucking loved reading it this year, and this time I'm going to be going through it in huge detail, taking notes, analysing it, all that good stuff, and we're going to have a great, probably hugely long discussion video at the end of it. So that will be exciting, and I might even have a nervous breakdown this time, so that'll be good. Number 5, a guilty pleasure read. I don't really have a lot of guilty pleasures because I'm not like ashamed of liking things, but I've decided to pick Ragdoll by Daniel Cole, which I'm going to be uploading a review for shortly, probably in the next few days, probably Monday. So this is a detective story about a case that involves 6 bodies all stitched together and the ominous threat of 6 more victims to come. It's very funny. It actually it sounds like that premise, and then followed by it's very funny. Sounds so grotesque, but actually, tonally, it's very similar to things like Castle and Sherlock, I guess. So whilst it has its grim elements, it's actually pretty light-hearted, and I really enjoyed it, even though it's really fucking stupid. And watch my review of that for more details. So, number 6, a book that you hate. Michael, I have read some awful books that I really hate, and you have dragged me back to one of them. I've decided to reread Strange Practice by Vivian Shaw. Watch my review of that if you want. Oh God, is it fucking bad. And I can only imagine that reading it again is going to make me hate it even more. So thanks, Michael, for that. I really can't wait to spend a week trudging back through this. Number 7. This is for July. A book written by a woman. I've got a couple of books on the list already that have been written by women. I've got 3 out of 6 so far. So actually, it's some 50-50. And we're going to go with Swords and Scoundrels by Julia Knight. This is probably, next to the Witcher saga, my favourite fantasy series that I've read in recent years. This is a trilogy of books about 2 siblings who are master swordsmen called duelists, and they exist in this really uniquely interesting fantasy world where it's a city that's basically, it's like a clockwork city, and every few days the whole city shifts and rearranges itself. The first book is about the pair of them on the run from the Duelists Guild after Vocho, who is the guy on the cover there, is correctly accused of being... he's doing some crimes, basically. He's correctly accused of doing these awful things, and they are both expelled from the Duelists Guild and begin to make their life as highwaymen until a mysterious box appears in their possession, and they have to unravel a conspiracy, and it's got a load of cool banter and good characters. The trilogy as a whole is probably one of my favourite things ever, and I might actually try and reread the whole thing in July, because it really does all flow together as one story. I think when the trilogy was originally released, it was like released in, like, the first book came out and then the month later the next one came out, because she wrote them all at once. So yeah, looking forward to that. Number 8, the August book. One of the challenges was to reread a short story. I have chosen to reread The Call of Cthulhu. Just the Call of Cthulhu short story. This is a collection of The Call of Cthulhu and other weird stories, all by H.P. Lovecraft. If you don't know what The Call of Cthulhu is about, it's about a big squid dragon that is going to eat the world after being asleep in the water for a long time, and then they have a fight with him in a boat. That's all true. Everything I just said is true. So I'm going to reread that, because it's been a fucking long time since I've reread Call of Cthulhu. And I'm going to have a read of some of these other stories as well, because I haven't actually read a whole lot of them. I might even read some of them this month, because, well, the year's almost ending. I can't really be bothered with another novel at this time. So yeah, maybe I'll do that. Number 9, a horror book. Well, I'm already reading Call of Cthulhu, so I'm going to have to pick a different horror book. This time I've picked Carey by Stephen King. This is one of my favourite books of all time ever. Stephen King's debut novel. Pretty much, I think everyone knows what this is about at this point. It's about a high school girl called Carey White who develops psychic powers and then goes on a mad revenge rampage because she's bullied and stuff. So yeah, I've reread this book already, probably about 4 or 5 times in my life, including listening to the audiobook, which is narrated by Sissy Spacek, who played Carey in the film, the Brian De Palma film, not the fucking shit Chloe Grace Moretz remake. So I'm gonna reread this again. Why not? It's a good one. Number 10, October. Read a romance story. Reread a romance book. I'm not sure why Michael opted to do horror in September and romance in October, but I think it might be because Michael is terrified of romance books. Michael, if that's true, let me know in the comments. So I'm gonna reread One Day by David Nichols for this challenge. This is probably the only book about a romance that I actually have ever liked. It's really good, and we'll discuss that more in October 2018, I suppose. Number 11, November. Read a controversial book. I haven't really read a huge amount of like modern books that are controversial or problematic, as some people like to say. But I have read recently a classic which would fit that bill, which is The Picture of Dorian Gray. Not so controversial by today's standards, because it's just about a bloke who smokes opium and tells women that they're not lovable after having only known them for 3 days and agreeing to marry them. I don't know. The book's kind of weird, but for Victorian London, it was proper controversial. So that was why it's made the list. Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, of course, who was like a legendary playwright guy. I think I have uploaded a review of this. I haven't checked if I did, but I definitely did read it this year. So go and watch that review if you want to know all my thoughts ahead of time, and we'll see how it goes second time round. And the last challenge, December. Reread any book of any genre. I have decided, because I see on my list here that there's no sci-fi books at all, and I am a pretty heavy sci-fi guy. I've decided to reread The Martian by Andy Weir, because I just read Artemis by Andy Weir, and it was fucking awful. So go and watch my review of that and you'll find out more about how awful that is. But The Martian I really fucking liked. So I'm going to reread The Martian and remember why I liked Andy Weir in the first place. Or I'm going to reread it and go, oh, actually, he's fucking awful, isn't he? Oh, yeah. But hopefully it'll be the former. So The Martian by Andy Weir, and that will finish off the year. That's 13 books there. I only read 25 books this year at the moment. I might read like one more, possibly 2 more. I don't have any time off for Christmas or anything at my job, so I probably won't read more than 1 more book at most. A couple of weeks left, like 10 days. How many days left are there of the year? What is it, the 15th? Yeah, so there's like 16 days of the year left. I'm not going to read a lot more books. So that is pretty much representative of about half of my reading for a year. And then I've got all the rest of the Witcher books to read, and then some other stuff. So next year is going to be pretty heavy on rereads for me. I'll be doing reviews of books I haven't reviewed already. I'll be doing discussions of books I have reviewed already. And maybe I'll do discussions of books I have not done reviews for as well. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. 2018, going to be interesting year. Thanks, Michael, by the way, for making this challenge, because I said in your comment section I was planning to reread a load of stuff anyway, but this framework is really fucking great. So go to his channel, spread some love for his challenge, readathon, whatever he wants to call it, and let's all read some of our favourite things for 2018 and be warm together. That's a fucking weird outro. I'll see you later.